We are constantly monitoring what is going on in the economy in West Michigan, wanting to know what upticks or downticks, if you will, that we see. And Dr. Brian Long is back with us today, Director of Supply Chain Management Research at Grand Valley State University and monitor of the West Michigan manufacturing economy. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning again.
Glad to have you with us today. So your latest report does include the headline that says something to the effect of an upturn is still being seen. And,
indeed it is.
That's good
and
news, yeah.
The data that we have coming in for this month confirm that upturn as well. We had a little bit of a dip right at the end of the year, basically began in late October and carried into the Christmas season. And January was disappointing because January is sometimes a back-to-work month. But when it got to February and March, we were pleased to see that the uptick that we had hoped for is finally upon us. And appropriately, we conclude that perhaps that extension of the dip that we were worried about back in November is simply not going to happen.
Yeah, how about that? Now, when we say upturn, is this major or still gradual like we've been seeing?
I'm going to still call it gradual. It's no massive upturn because the industrial economy has had this very slow but steady recovery for the last 7 years. And so there isn't too much further that the industrial economy can go as far as uptick is concerned. The important thing is up is up, and if we continue on this path, this is certainly positive for the West Michigan economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, up is better than down, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I was worried for a while that what we might come up with is a sideways economy, that we neither expanded or contracted, but just went sideways. That rarely happens that we do that for any more than a few months. But we had all the earmarkings that could happen this time. So we're pleased to see that the numbers are actually up, at least for right now. And I might add all the other similar surveys around the world, the state survey, the national survey, the international surveys, all point toward the possibility that we've at least flattened out right now, and in some instances are actually going up again.
All right, we're talking with Dr. Brian Long about the West Michigan economy. When we spoke to him last, we talked about the notion of full employment. We'll see if that's still the case now, among other things, when we come back on WBCK. We're here with Dr. Brian Long, observer of the West Michigan manufacturing economy, among other things. And, Brian, when we talked the last time, we were talking about, I think, employment specifically, and that the notion was we were almost at full employment, or at least we were close to that, and that would suggest sort of a plateau, I guess, as far as employment is concerned. What do you see today?
Well, right now in Calhoun County, at least, we are looking at 4.6% unemployment. Now, that's a long way below the 12.8% unemployment that we had back in August of 2009. It doesn't mean that there isn't some additional room for improvement, but we still consider this to be at or near full employment as far as West Michigan is concerned.
Right, and so what does that mean? Let's remind folks, that means that there are no more jobs to be had, or those who are looking for employees have found them?
Well, unfortunately, we have many jobs out there that still cannot be filled because we don't have the trained people to fill them. The estimate in this state right now is still that we have 80,000 jobs that we cannot fill because the people aren't there with the skill set that's necessary.
That is wild.
Now, by that I mean CNC operators, certified welders. If you have 3 or 4 of those Microsoft certifications, you're absolutely gold in today's market. But the jobs for just the regular high school graduate that used to be there, that you walk in and they train you for 2 days and you're ready to go, those jobs just aren't there anymore.
You have to have some sort of training, some sort of specific training.
Exactly. and very often some kind of a postgraduate credential of some sort. Doesn't mean by any stretch a 4-year degree. Most of these are either 2-year degree jobs or, once again, some kind of a certification, or in the case of a union training program, a journeyman's card or something like that takes you a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we chatted not long ago with the president of Kellogg Community College and some others who recognize what you're saying and are trying to pivot toward helping folks get those certifications and those training opportunities, but I don't know if it's moving fast enough. Is there a concern that some of those jobs would go somewhere else where the skills are readily available?
Yes, that is entirely possible, and we're going to have a little bit of a contest among the various states and among the various employment units to see who can turn the corner the fastest. I fully agree with the Kellogg Community College people that indicate that this is probably where the future belongs. Same thing with Kalamazoo and our community college, or Grand Rapids and its community college. These are the places that we should be expanding right now. Unfortunately, we're still throwing money at 4-year institutions that, as I said before, if you've got a degree in South American art history, I'm sorry, there just aren't jobs out there, but yet we're turning out graduates by the hundreds from the 4-year institutions for which there are no jobs, and yet the jobs, as I said, are very often associated with the junior colleges. Mm-hmm. I might add, the high schools have gotten into education for employment also, and those programs need to be expanded.
Yeah, so who's at fault there? I mean, don't you think that a student who's trying to decide what to do with themselves should think about what makes them employable and not choose that art history, South American art history thing?
Indeed, they should, but unfortunately, they're encouraged by the institution that they go to because they want the enrollment. If you were a professor of South American art history, you would tell them, oh, this is the most wonderful program in the world. Sometimes knowing full well that there's a total of 3 jobs in the whole United States for someone with that degree. But unfortunately, as I said, it isn't just the counseling. In part, it's the parents, and in part, it's a case of the institutions themselves not doing an adequate job of informing their people as to what the real job prospects are.
We're talking with Dr. Brian Long, who observes the West Michigan economy and employment situation. In a minute, he talks about an upturn continuing and that it looks fairly decent. What makes it that way? We'll discuss that coming up in just a second. Dr. Brian Long is back with us. We're talking about the economy and the employment situation and so on. His latest report, which is quarterly, current business trends in West Michigan, shows a continued upturn, albeit fairly moderate in its pace. But what's keeping that upturn going, Brian?
Well, right now, our primary industries on the west side of the state are, first of all, office furniture from Grand Rapids, and we got many suppliers, of course, that come all the way down here into Kalamazoo and Battle Creek area that are Tier 1 or Tier 2 suppliers to the office furniture business. Automotive. This is still an automotive state. Automotive sales are still very strong. Lots of new programs coming in, and as a result, our suppliers are at full tilt. Many of them are, as they say, at full capacity.
So people are still buying cars?
Absolutely, but they're buying the gas-guzzling SUVs, not the economy cars of days gone by, because of, once again, that low price of gasoline is fooling people again into thinking that we don't have to worry about the future as far as oil is concerned.
Well, and the auto companies would be glad to sell them a smaller car when that time comes, I imagine.
No doubt about it. In fact, there have been layoffs on those particular lines that have been producing those cars. And if you check the dealer lots right now, you're going to see that they have lots of the smaller cars available. It's, again, the trucks and the SUVs that are in shorter supply right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that for those who need that kind of versatility, they fit the bill pretty well.
Well, and they do get much better mileage than they did 15, 20 years ago, too. We have to give them credit for that as well. But what I fear, of course, is that we get too geared up in one direction, and then the price of oil goes up, price of gas goes back to $4 a gallon. We all remember $4 a gallon, and then we don't have enough small cars on the lots to meet the demand.
So cars and office furniture, what about the food industry? Because, Battle Creek is connected to that pretty readily. Not necessarily the horse that's pulling the wagon, but there's some energy there at least, right?
No doubt about it. Obviously, food is still an item that is relatively stable as far as the economy is concerned. Unfortunately, of course, what we see is a lot of shifting around as far as the production of food to different areas of the country. At one time, all of the cereal was made right in Battle Creek. In fact, there were 102 cereal companies in Battle Creek a little over 100 years ago or so right now, and of course that's gotten down to a very small number, but it's not the boom industry that it was in the 1950s when the cereal companies owned all of the kids' programs, pushed cereal, and kids went to the store demanding that they have their particular brand of cereal. If cereal still sold for $8 a box, they could do that, but unfortunately, cereal is more of a commodity right now as far as the grocery business is concerned.
Well, and we presume a lot of that is lifestyle-oriented, that we're not gathered around the dining room table in the morning anymore.
No, well, and look at the line at McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's didn't have a drive-through 40 years ago or so, and now, of course, they do. And that line sometimes is 24 cars long or so. Mm-hmm. We didn't have Starbucks. The trend as far as breakfast, obviously, is very different, and hence the market for the dry cereal is not what it was.
All right, so as you look forward, is there anything that threatens or bolsters the continuing upturn?
Well, the fact is we had a little bit of an upturn right in the middle of 2008, which caused some of us to conclude, well, maybe we're not really going to have a dip. And, of course, the following quarter after that is when the dip began. So just a little spike right here as far as the market is concerned. We can't get too overly optimistic about it. We have to watch the world economy, and we have to watch the economy as far as the rest of the United States is concerned. Right now, we're outperforming the state economy, the national economy, and the world economy right here in West Michigan.
Wow.
So we don't know for sure that can continue.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a good place to leave it. We appreciate it. As always, Dr. Brian Long, Director of Supply Chain Management Research at Grand Valley State University and an observer of the West Michigan economy. Thank you again.